a merry life. He robbed young girls of their heart's delight, leaving them alone for to sigh and moan. They never know when they will return. So that was called A Sailor's Life, which just by coincidence is the name of this little next hour that I'm going to pass with you. This was a song collected in Suffolk in it's a Sussex song collected in 1899, but that was part of the Suffolk version. And all the songs I'm going to be singing are contemporary to the events that I'm also going to talk about. So we're talking about a sailor's life, and the song goes on, of course, a sailor's life is a merry life. So really what we're going to see is, was it a merry life or not? Or was that a little bit of propaganda on the part of that singer? And of course, really it was a bit of a mixed bag. But hopefully along the way I'm going to sing you a few nice songs and perhaps tell you some things you never knew about the life of the Navy in the 19th century and seamen generally. So, the first full song I'm going to sing is Farewell Nancy, which is a beautiful song, and it deals with parting. And of course, sailors did a lot of parting, which is why there are other parting songs in the tradition. It was not uncommon to be away at sea for 2 to 3 years if you went on board a ship of His Majesty at the time. If you were on a whaler, say sailing out of Grimsby or any of those western ports, eastern ports, and up into the Pacific for the whale business, then 6 to 7 years was also not uncommon at all. If you came back, of course, there was always that chance as well. Admiral Collingwood, who led the second line in Trafalgar, Nelson, of course, led the first line, but his colleague, Collingwood, led the second. And he once stayed at sea without dropping anchor at all for 22 months. So nearly 2 years at sea, constantly on the move, without even coming to port. Nelson himself didn't set foot off the Victory from June 1803 to July 1805. So basically, for 2 years, he didn't step off the ship. And when he returned in July 1805, he was at home at his Merton house for 3 weeks before he then got the news to take ship down at Portsmouth. So 2 years away, 3 weeks home, back on board, down on the coach, straight down to Portsmouth, onto the Victory, and off to Trafalgar, of course, from which he never returned. So that was the life of the sailor. And that's probably why there are so many songs like this. This particular song was collected by George Gardner in Winchester in 1906, but it dates from early 1800s. Very well, my dearest Nancy, since I must now leave you unto the salt seas I am bound for to go, but let my long absence be no trouble to you, for I shall return in the spring, as you know. Like some pretty little sea boy, I will dress and go with you. In the deepest of danger, I shall stand your friend. In the cold stormy weather, love, when the winds are blowing, my dear, I shall be willing to wait on you there. Your pretty little hands can't handle our tackle, and your pretty little feet on our topmast can't go. And the cold stormy weather, love, you ne'er can endure. Therefore, dearest Nancy, to the seas do not go. So farewell, my dearest Nancy, since I must now leave you. Unto the still seas I am bound for to go, where the winds do blow high, and the seas loud do roll. So make yourself contented, be kind and stay on shore. So your pretty little hands can't handle the tackle. So no, she can't go to sea with him because she's too delicate. But in fact, lots of women did go to sea. And there were sort of three types of women who went to sea. The first were the captain's wives, and that was all official. Actually, it wasn't official at all. Navy orders said that no one be taken on board ship past the Straits of Dover. But in fact, in fact, the husbands took their wives with them constantly. So that's one naval order that was completely disobeyed. And there was also, of course, the other type of lady who kept the sailors, shall we say, entertained. When a ship came into port, it was the crew were not allowed to disembark. So even when the ship came home after 2 years at sea, you couldn't let the sailors off. If you did, they never come back. So you kept them on board. So the ladies used to go and visit the men in what were very appropriately called jolly boats. And very jolly they were. There were over 7,000 registered prostitutes in Portsmouth at the time to service the men's needs. Which gives you a fair idea of the industry that went on around this. So, and there were complaints by the captains and officers that sometimes there were more women on board when the ship was in dock than men, sometimes 2 to 1, and all sorts of stuff went on, of course, as you can imagine, because there's no privacy on board, it was just hammocks, and that was it. Hence the phrase show a leg. When the bosun came round and saying show a leg, if a big hairy one came out, that was fine. If a nice smooth shapy one came out, then sling your hook, you know. So there's a naval phrase that comes from those times. And then there was the third type of woman who went to sea, who went incognito, dressed as a man. And of course there were lots of folk songs about that, but it was, I think, more common than we think. So one famous source is Mary Ann Talbot. She became a cabin boy, first of all, in a French ship. And I suppose because there were so many young sailors, Nelson went to sea at the age of 11. 12 was the usual age for midshipmen to join. So perhaps women could pass themselves off as young men. She joined as a cabin boy on a French ship, which was a mistake, because of course the French ship got captured by a British ship, the HMS Brunswick, and she was transferred to that ship, and in June 1794 she was wounded on board HMS Brunswick for the second time, when grape shot almost severed her leg during the Battle of the Glorious First against the French. She never recovered the full use of the leg and lived for the rest of her life. After 2 years on board the Brunswick and seeing action in that way, she came ashore at St. Catherine's Dock in 1796. And having been paid off as a seaman, was walking down the docks and was immediately pressed down. Not 300 yards down the dock. So there she was, off to sea for another 2 or 3 years, which she really wasn't looking forward to again. So she played the trump card that ordinary sailors couldn't, and she revealed herself as a woman. And a very confused press gang had to let her go. So she escaped and spent the rest of her life doing lectures and talks around the country, telling everybody about her wonderful adventures. My favourite story is of Calico Jack and his women. Calico Jack was a pirate based in Nassau, which is in the Bahamas. And this takes us back to the 1720s, and he met and courted a young girl there called Anne Bonny. She joined his crew and went pirating with him, dressed as a man, of course, because that was practical. When Calico Jack's sloop captured a merchant ship, Calico took the crew on board. He press ganged the English crew to make up the crew that were dead, died of disease, drink, whatever. So he made up his crew from the members of the merchant ship. He didn't give them much choice. He said, it's over the side, and join. So they joined. Anne Bonny took a shine to one of that crew, just to complicate things even more. A man called Mark Reed. Now, Anne Bonny, although she was supposed to be Captain Calico Jack's girlfriend, very much fancied Mark Reed. And in a quiet moment, she actually revealed to him that she was actually a woman and it would be fine. So imagine her surprise when Mark Reed confided to her that he too was a woman. In fact, a woman called Mary Reed. And look her up. I mean, she's a fascinating character, absolutely fascinating. She'd actually been brought up as a male by her parents. Her father was a sea captain, and perhaps she just realised if she was going to have a future, in those days she'd have to be a man. So he brought her up as a man. But there you are. She remained a man all her life. She goes into the history books after that. Calico Jack was captured and executed along with all his crew because he was drunk at the time when he should have been fighting. And the only people fighting was Mary Read and Anne Bonny. They put up the stiffest resistance with pistols and cutlasses, but they were overwhelmed by the Royal Navy, and everybody was captured. All the men were hanged, but Anne Bonny and Mary Read played their trump card and said they were pregnant. And of course, you can't hang a pregnant woman, not even in the 1720s, because an innocent child dies. So they got off hanging. We know that Anne Bonny died in prison of jail fever out in Nassau. And we don't know what happened to Mary Read. I'd like to think she escaped to the pirating again, with her own crew this time. So, who knows? So this is one of the very many songs about women who went to sea. It's called Billy Taylor. And Cecil Sharp said this was, and I quote, a favourite with folk singers all over the world. This version's from Nova Scotia. Billy Taylor was a brisk young fellow, full of mirth and full of glee, and he did his mind discover for his lady fair to see. 420 smart young fellows, dressed were they in blue array. They came and took poor Billy Taylor, whom they pressed and sent to sea. Soon his true love followed after. She went by the name of Richard Carr, and she smeared her lily white fingers with the greasy pitch and tar. Soon a storm rose on the ocean. She went up along, all with the rest, her sailor jacket being unbuttoned. There she saw her lily white breast. So when the captain came to know this, says he, what wind brings you here? Sir, I seek my Billy Taylor, whom you pressed and sent to sea. Well, if his name be Billy Taylor, he is both cruel and severe. But if you rise up in the morning, you'll see him with his lady fair. Early in the morning, early at the break of day, who should she see but Billy Taylor, walking out with his lady gay. So sword and pistol she's called out, and they were brought at her command, and she's killed her Billy Taylor, shot the lady in his right hand. And when the captain came to know this, he applauded her for what she'd done, and he made her his lieutenant aboard the gallant Thunderborough. So the next song yeah, you can join in this one. It's a bit of a sort of moaning song, really, because oh no, it's not. It's that one. Yeah, it's not that one. It's that one. Yeah, mention the press gang there. So yeah, we'll do a press gang song because I like this one. The press gang, the impress service, was what it actually called. And it was activated in 1792 when the French wars broke out. Although it had been going since Oliver Cromwell, so it had been there a long time. And at first they took sailors, seamen, fishermen, trawlermen, who obviously were experienced. But as the war went on and they needed more men, it should be said the Navy had 85,000 men serving in the 130 odd ships of the line at the time, the largest navy in the world. And but by the end of the Napoleonic Wars, we had over 130,000 men. So recruitment became a big problem. And everybody hated the press gang. It should be said that Nelson, his first job as a new second lieutenant, was to lead a press gang, which he did with his usual diligence and fervour and effectiveness, bringing in 16 men in his first little outing. But as he said, you know, the war needs men. What is there to be done? So, well, what you could do is fight. And there were pitched battles with resisting locals, and evading the press became a practiced art form, although not always successful. In Cork, in Ireland, the press gang successfully managed to break up a funeral and open the coffin, and there was the man they were looking for in the coffin. And he leapt out and had a drink with them, and off he went with the gang. So, you know, sometimes you won, sometimes you lost. But it wasn't always a happy ending. Plymouth, in 1803, lost 800 men in one single 2-day press gang campaign. 800 men from the town. Because, of course, that was the start of the Napoleonic Wars, as opposed to the French Wars. And really, being in the Navy was a mug's game. An able seaman's monthly pay in 1805 was £1.10 a month. A merchant seaman earned £6. So no merchant seaman wanted to go in the Navy. Why would he? So when Trafalgar was fought, about 50% of all the sailors who fought in that battle were volunteers. The Navy never really had more than about half the men they had who actually wanted to be there. All the rest were there because they were either pressed out of prisons or running away from somebody, possibly a pregnant girlfriend and some angry parents or something. So I think the singer of this song was an experienced sailor from the first verse. So we could sort of put this fairly early in the war. This particular song was collected in Norfolk in 1915 from singer James Sutton of Winterton. And yeah, it tells a story really. And we can compare it perhaps with recruiting posters of nowadays. You know, join the Navy, see the world, girlfriends in every port. Read the small print. As I walk down some London street, a press gang there I chanced to meet. They asked if I would join the fleet on board a man-of-war, brave boy. said, now shipmates, tell me true, what kind of treatment they'll give you, that I might know before I go on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. The treatment now they'll give you is lots of rum and baccy too. That's the treatment that they'll give you on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. But when at sea, to my surprise, I found they told me shocking lies. There was a bloody good row on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. First thing they done, they took me in hand. They beat me with a tarry strand. They beat me till I couldn't stand on board the man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. And they hung me up by my thumb. They flogged me till the blood did run. How I cursed the day that ever I come on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. But now I'm back on England's shore, I'll see the London girls once more, and never will I go to sea any more on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war, on board a man of war, brave boy, on board a man of war. I'll mention that that song's not on my CD, which I'll have on the tape, and feel free to throw mine at me afterwards if I want to. Okay, so the next one is a moaning song, as if that one wasn't a moaning song. Because of course, once you were on board as a landsman and you had to earn, well, it's okay if you were a seaman, but if you were a landman, as they were called, those that didn't know the sharp end from the blunt end, then they had to learn the ropes pretty quickly. Below deck, sorry. That was something else, you had to learn the language. Where were the heads, for goodness sake? Where you had to go to the loo, and a sheet was not what you lay in, it was what you pulled. And it's really confusing. And so the sailors, of course, had a language all of their own. very colourful at times too. And there is a quote from a 14-year-old saying, "I hope I shall not learn to swear such as I have heard around the decks." But you can imagine those youngsters of 11 and 12 grew up pretty fast in those days. Nelson really, he gave up wine when he was 12. It gave him a nasty headache. He didn't like it. Yeah, there are all sorts of things to keep you busy, and there's mention of all sorts of things in this next song. If you, of course, you did have an official moan, well then you would be flogged, because that was called mutiny. They tended not to hang you for mutiny because, of course, they needed the seaman. Waste of a good man to hang him, better to flog him. 12 lashes with the cat of nine tails was the usual thing, and the punishment book is full of that. If it was over 12, it had to be subject to an official court-martial. It should be said that wasn't done much either. The officers just did what they liked, basically because they were gone on board, simple as that. So, 2 days before the Battle of Trafalgar, Captain Hardy flogged 5 men for drunkenness and dereliction of duty. They'd probably fallen asleep when they should have been awake. And they all got 72 lashes. And that was not subject to any court-martial. He just did it. 72 lashes, of course, with a cat of nine tails, that's 9 times 72 you got hit. So you'd be seeing the bone by the time you got past 72. But punishments of up to 200 lashes were not unknown. And there were men who actually walked away from that, which is pretty incredible. They were a tough bunch. They could be, of course, struck by the boatswain, as the man was with the tarry piece of rope that we hear in the last song. And the boatswain gets another mention in this song with his little stick in this one. So this refers to an actual naval practice called starting the men to work. Meant actually whacking them with a stick or this rope's end. It was bitterly resented by the able seamen because they were pretty proud of what they did. Especially the top men. They were the elite, the ones who ran about in the yards and sails and reefed the sails. So they were the top men who were the really skilled people. They didn't ever need starting. They knew their business. And they resented it so much that in 1808 the Navy banned it officially. Starting was banned. Still went on, of course, but officially banned. So there was a recognition there. Men had to be skilled quickly enough. And the top men were skilled. They could tie up 30 different knots with either hand, or one-handed, in the dark. So they felt no need to be started. There's also mention of burgoo, which was the main diet of the time, a sort of porridge with bits of meat or fat in it. Horse meat should have been beef, but it was usually horse meat, more often than not, because the purser, they had this wonderful system of not paying the purser. He was universally hated on every ship, and he still has a bit of a reputation in the merchant navy and the Royal Navy even to this day. Because, of course, the only way he could make money was to shortchange on the supplies. You've got your hammock for free, but your mattress and your bedding you had to buy for your own hammock. And that could only be bought from the purser at a price set by the purser. So you can see that happen. When you were paid off at the end of a trip, you weren't paid in money, you were paid in truck. And this was a common system in the factories as well at the time. So it wasn't anything special. So basically got paid with a ticket. The only trouble was you could only exchange the ticket at 3 places in the whole of England. Chatham, Portsmouth and Plymouth. So if you came in anywhere else, you had a ticket that was absolutely no good to you at all to get stuck into the drink. And a man could drink a month's wages in a couple of months. So who was there on hand to help you? There was, of course, the purser who would exchange your ticket for real money to get drunk by. The trouble was, of course, he would set his own exchange system. So he made on that as well. So that's why everybody loves the purser who comes in this song. But I suppose at the end of the day, there was the booze, which made everything joy. And the grog ration of the time was a gallon of beer per man per day, and a half a pint of rum per man per day. And that was common by 1731. Now, you all know that 14 units a week is what you need to drink, and no more, men or ladies, to keep your health good. The grog ration in 1800 was equivalent to 200 units per week. So basically, the Royal Navy were drunk. And that went from the admirals right down to the able seamen at the bottom. It was a common thing. And then came along Admiral Vernon, who reduced the drunkenness. He was very unpopular for it. 1741, he was fed up with all his men falling about the place. So he added 2 pints of water to the rum. And that is the beginning of grog. And that was 1741. So now you can amaze all your friends with why the rum ration is called grog. Because Admiral Vernon wore a cloak made of grogram, which was a waterproof fabric made of silk and wool, as all textile experts will probably know. There was no official uniform until 1856. So basically, although we think of them dressed in blue, after that you could improvise, and Admiral Vernon certainly did. So here's a moaning song, and you've got to join in with this. You can imagine that you're just a disgruntled sailor. And the chorus is really difficult, so hang on. It goes, Amen. Okay. Good luck. As the top man and an afterguard were walking one day, said the top man to the afterguard, I mean for to pray for the rights of all sailors and the wrongs of all men, and whatever I do pray for, you must answer, Amen. Well, I'll pray for the boatswain with his little stick. He calls on all hands and then gives them a lick, strikes many a brave fellow and kicks him amain. May the devil double triple damn him, said the afterguard, Amen. And then I'll pray for the purser who gives us to eat, Steward who rank butter and musty horse meat, with weebly old biscuits while we get the gain. May the devil double triple damn him, said the afterguard, Amen. And then I'll pray for them Navy officers who hold up our due. We are owed 3 years' wages and prize money too, but you can't have it yet, Jack. Try next voyage again. May the devil double triple damn them, said the afterguard, Amen. And so the last thing I will pray for is a drop of good beer For the Lord sent good liquor, our spirits for cheer. And when we have 1 pint, may we also have 10. And never, never want a grog with boys, said the afterguard. Amen. Top man in the afterguard. Okay, so this next song is a very rare broadside, which I come across sort of fairly recently and just loved, so I've got to sing it. And it deals with an unusual subject which I've never come across in the song before, in the broadsides, and it's that rare moment when the ships were, the enemy was sighted, and you've had action stations called. A ship of the line would clear for action in 5 minutes. Everything that was in the way went out through the gun ports. That could be the animals. We don't think of the ships.